Guys, UFC 301 is in the bag, done and dusted. Although this card is not as stacked as the previous pay-per-views like UFC 300 and 299, I still knew the fighters on this card would deliver, and it didn't disappoint, not at all. From the prelims, the main card, everything absolutely delivered. So I'm only going to talk about the main fights. The first fight then was Caio Borralho taking on Paul Craig. Paul Craig is one of those guys that you don't want to be on the ground with him. He's very good on the floor. He's a solid jiu-jitsu guy, solid wrestler. Obviously, his game plan was to take Caio Borralho to the floor, but Caio Borralho wasn't having none of it. Caio Borralho is one of those guys that I could call him a jack of all trades. He's good standing. His jiu-jitsu is good. He's good against the fence, the clinch. He's pretty much good everywhere. And most importantly, he doesn't give up. He keeps coming and keeps coming and keeps coming. That will just that will mess up with your head, really. Like, so I think that affected Paul Craig a little bit because Paul Craig tried to take him down a couple of times, and then Paul Craig was using the kicks to keep him out of bay, but he wasn't having none of it. Like, because Paul Craig has a very long leg. He's a very tall fella. He was trying to kick the body of Caio Borralho and the head of Caio Borralho. He was going basically downstairs and upstairs, and Caio Borralho was just taking some shots, but he was still good with the jabs. He had a very good job jabbing Paul Craig, moving forward. He knew exactly what he had to do, Caio Borralho. He knew all he had to do was to stay in the boxing range and try and knock out Paul Craig, which that was exactly what he did. He managed to do that towards I think the second minute of the second round. He gave him that left, and then Paul Craig was on the floor, and the referee had to jump in, and that was all she rolls. So Caio Borralho by knockout in the second round. And I'm looking forward to see what Caio Borralho does next. And Paul Craig will be back. He's a veteran anyways. There's no shame in losing to a young guy coming up. That's always going to happen. You have to pass the baton. Moving on to the next fight then, the second fight of the main card, you have Michel Pereira taking on Ihor Potieria. This fight only lasted for 66 seconds. Like usually when Michel Pereira comes into the ring, you see him jumping around, dancing, doing all this because he's just a wild man. He's so entertaining. I don't know how you cannot like that guy. He's probably the most entertaining fighter on the planet. Very good fighter as well. Strong, legit fighter. I think he's a contender anyways, for sure. He might not win the belt, but he's definitely up there as a contender. Anyways, he came into the ring this time kind of quiet. He was just knocked like a normal person. I was like, what's going on? Is this guy okay? But I think he was trying to conserve some energy. He was very focused. He wanted to win the fight. It was in Brazil. He knew he had the fans behind him. He didn't want to like mess anything up. Basically, he wanted to be on point. And was he on point or what? Oh my goodness. Then they got into the ring. The bell rang. They felt each other up for like a few seconds. The next thing, I looked up and I looked down. Like basically, I closed my eyes and I opened my eyes and I saw Ihor Potieria on the floor. I was like, okay, what's going on? And then usually when someone is on the floor, right? When you have a fighter on the floor, the fighter standing wants to pass his legs, so go on his upper body so he can pound them. Or you could probably get a half guard. A half guard is also good. You can still pound away in a half guard, use your elbow. But ideally, you probably want to be on the side control is nice. You want to be on the mount as well, just rain punches down on the mount. But this guy said, nah, this is too boring for me. I'm not going to pass his legs. There's better ways to pass this man's legs. My man did a backflip and landed on the guy. It was insane. Like he did a backflip, landed on the guy, and then ended up in the north-south. And while he was trying to pound Ihor Potieria on the north-south, Ihor Potieria got up, and while he was getting up, he left his head hanging then. And there she rose, man. There she rose. That was a wrap. Guillotine choke for my guy, Michel Pereira. So moving on to the third fight then, you have Anthony Smith, the veteran, taking on Vitor Petrino. Vitor Petrino was one of those guys that I had high hopes on this card. But man, you can't make silly mistakes against a veteran like Anthony Smith. You get punished the bad way, and that was exactly what happened. Anthony Smith saw the opportunity, took the opportunity, and wrapped it up. Nothing short expected from Anthony Smith. Basically, he came in, Vitor Petrino, he came in, usually he's a stronger guy. He's kind of the bigger guy. Not necessarily the taller guy, but bigger body mass. He's the bigger guy, strong, muscularly, the legs, the neck, the hands, everything is big, knockout power. He came in a bit aggressive. Anthony Smith gave him some 2 or 3 leg kicks. I think that was what made him make the wrong decision to go for a takedown, a double leg on Anthony Smith because of those leg kicks were probably hurting him a little bit. And he felt, okay, let me take Anthony Smith down and ground and pound him. But that was a bad idea. That was a bad idea. As soon as he took the double leg, he kept his head hanging again. Another fight where someone kept the head hanging, but this one was very obvious. The head was basically hanging, and Anthony Smith, as a veteran, saw the neck, capitalized on the neck. Another goddamn guillotine choke, and that was all she rose. There was no way he could have gotten out of that guillotine choke. That was probably one of the tightest guillotine choke I have ever seen. Anthony Smith had a guillotine choke in the guard. When you have a guillotine choke in your guard, it's very hard for someone to pull out of it because you basically cross your legs behind him. There's no way for him to run. He's basically stuck in there, and you have the choke, and then he's stuck like so. That was a very, very good guillotine choke. But that's a learning experience for Vitor Petrino because it's a costly mistake, like, and he paid the price. I think he's going to learn a lot from this because that could have been avoided. He could have kept the fight standing. He gave Anthony Smith best chance of winning this fight was actually submission or ground and pound, taking him to the floor, I thought. He just gave that to him just like that. And fair play to Anthony Smith. He's a happy man. Would like to see what's on for the next two guys. I think Vitor Petrino, keep training. You will be back for sure. Then moving on to the fourth fight of the main card, you have Jose Aldo himself, the legend. Everything you want to talk about a fighter is Jose Aldo. Jose Aldo was taking on Jonathan Martinez. This was Jonathan Martinez's opportunity to be the legend and probably propel him to the title shot or at least a fight before the title shot. But Jose Aldo wasn't willing to let that happen. He's like, no, I'm not done yet. I'm still here to stay. I still want to take that belt myself. Never mind you, man. I am going to teach you a lesson. And that was exactly what Jose Aldo did. Jose Aldo basically taught him a lesson in that fight. It was a master class by Jose Aldo. Jose Aldo still has it, man. Don't count that man out. I don't know how many fights that guy has had and how many fights he's won. How many people, legends, even legends like himself, is after beating up. That guy is unbelievable, man. Jose Aldo, and his boxing was better than ever as well. He always had good boxing, but like you could see the difference in the boxing of Jose Aldo in this fight. The guy was crisp. Like everything Jose Aldo did, his movement in and out, catching Jonathan Martinez. Jonathan Martinez was like, okay, I'm in for his schooling. I think this was a masterclass by Jose Aldo, and I won't be surprised if they give him the title shot in the next fight or two because, man, like, what can you say, really? Like, the thing for Jonathan Martinez is just keep doing what you're doing, learn from this. Again, some of these young guys coming up or these upcomers coming up or average upcomers coming up. When I mean average, I mean in the middle of the career. That's what I mean by average. I don't mean like average fighters. Like in the middle of the career, they're coming up. They haven't reached the pinnacle. That's an example of Jonathan Martinez. Just needs to keep coming, keep doing what he's doing. Don't give up. But anyways, this fight was a unanimous decision all across the board, man. All across the board. 30-27 all across the board for Jose Aldo. Happy for the man. Looking forward to see his next few fights. The King of Rio is back. And then this brings us to the main event. This main event, man, oh my goodness. Like, people were not happy when they made the main event in the Brazil card. They were expecting like a bigger name or stuff like that. But I knew these two boys were gonna bring it. This is probably one of the best fights that I have seen in the last couple of weeks. Like, this fight was absolutely amazing. Pantoja, what can you say about the champion? Pantoja, man. Pantoja and then his opponent, then Steve Erceg. What can you really see about these two boys? I would start with Pantoja first. Pantoja is one of those guys, yeah, that is well-rounded. If you want to learn about mixed martial arts, someone wants to give you, oh, this is a mixed martial artist, Pantoja is a good example. Just watch Pantoja fight. That is a good example of what a mixed martial artist is. What I mean by that is Pantoja, this guy can stand, he can strike, he's slickly on the floor, he knows how to blend them in all the time. Those body locks he was using in that fight to take Erceg to the floor, controls Erceg. Erceg think he's getting up, and then it flows with him. The same body lock controls him, puts him back onto the floor. Man, that was really sweet, man. That was really, really sweet. Pantoja is fun to watch as well. Like, man, there's no better sports than MMA, man. There's no better sports than MMA. MMA is just sweet, man. Like, you just see all these different fighters, different characters coming in, both the big guys, both the small guys, skillful fighters, man. And what do I want to see about Steve Erceg? Steve Erceg is boxing his scripts. He's taller than Pantoja. He knows how to use the reach. He's going to be a champion. Steve Erceg is going to be a champion. Although he lost this fight, it was a close fight, but I would give it to Pantoja. I think Pantoja won 3 rounds for sure out of the 5 rounds. I would agree. I would say definitely he did. But it was a close. It wasn't like a write-off or whatever. Like it didn't like masterclass Steve Erceg or anything like that. It was a close fight, but the edge, I would give it to Pantoja, man. That was an absolute brilliant fight. I'm gonna watch that fight again. Actually, it's an absolute brilliant fight, and I'm looking forward to see what happens to Steve Erceg. Guys, let me know what you think of the card because there's no fun in it without hearing you guys' opinion as well. So give us a thumbs up, subscribe, and I will see you at the next video.